Hey, sports fans, Athletics Chat, episode 102. Stuart's in the blue shirt. I'm in the black shirt. Stuart's in across the pond in lovely Great Britain, and I'm in Wisconsin. And there's no storms today. Yippee. Hey, Stuart,
Mm, Hi,
how are you today?
good. It actually didn't rain today. It's been raining most days, but I don't think it rained today.
Good. And we've got some nice pictures coming in from the European Under 20 in Jerusalem. We'll be
Yeah,
pulling some coverage from European athletics for that and showcasing some of the photos. But we have our sights on the World Championships. Now, when do
yeah.
you leave? You leave the end of the week?
I know uh, a week and Thursday.
Okay, okay.
It's just arriving a couple of days before.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm going to come in flying Tuesday, arrive Wednesday, give us a couple days. I see we've got lovely storms though in Budapest. It's flooding all over there right now.
Yeah, well, there's a lot in Europe at
Yeah, it
the
what there's
moment,
been
I'm afraid.
fires in Portugal and Spain and rain. I saw
Mm.
Sean Ingalls was in Croatia and he had
Yeah.
to deal with some trains that were delayed. He was been sending some
Mm.
pictures via Instagram.
Mhm.
Um, I think the thing I wanted to start with is there's an article on Athletics Illustrated about Seb Coe's firm stance on Russia and Belarus not competing in obviously in the
Mm.
Worlds, but also in the Olympics. And Mr. Bach continues to push for Russia and Belarus to come back into the world family. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Living in Europe and having a lot of friends in Europe, I think that the threat that Russia um, is to the rest of Europe is very real. And so I think I'd
Yeah,
be very much with Sepco on this. And certainly, when you think of the story of so many of the Ukrainian athletes who are competing at world level, who have had to leave their homes, some of them just literally put what they could get in the car and drive off. For them to see Russia just being welcomed back in would be very hard. And I think we've got to respect and support those Ukrainian athletes. I mean, there's been some at Wimbledon with some uh, tennis players who said very politely, "I'm not going to shake hands with a Russian opponent," and did
yeah,
so.
yeah,
And I think that really one has got to listen to the athletes. And I think that if Bach were to ask uh, European athletes what they thought, I think he would find that not many are in favour of allowing Russia back in. Uh, I mean, he could grandiose ideas of how the Olympic movement will save the world and all that kind of stuff. But of course, it's unfair on individual Russian athletes. But you know, think of all the people who are dying in Ukraine because of
yeah.
Russian aggression.
Yeah, no, that's what I think too. I mean, I in 2014, my son and Mike and I were in Poland in Sopot, and we were less than 2 hours from when Russia had gone into Crimea, and it was very real there. It was very concerning. So just I don't understand Bach's thought process. He's being attacked all over Germany. The ARVD TV that broke the big story on the Russians cheating in the Sochi or in the 2014 Olympics is just shocked by Fox. But I'm not sure anybody should be because he's been playing this game for a while and he's great friends with Putin. And, Putin spent 50 billion, they claim, dollars to prop up the 2014 Olympics. All his buddies made money from it, and then they hid tests for 1,400 athletes. So, yeah, it's and that's one thing, but the whole invasion of the Ukraine is absolutely another. And we get notes from several athletes and former athletes and their families, and it's just scary. And the sad thing is that most Americans are so insular; they have no idea what's happening outside of North America. They know more about a Taylor Swift concert than they do about what's going on in the Ukraine, or they're following, the continued trials and tribulations of President number 45, and that is all that they can handle. So, yeah, it's a very strange world right now. I'm looking forward to the world champs for many reasons. It kind of reinforces my view that we're in this global village, and getting to meet athletes and coaches and see a crowd from 200 countries cheering and smiling and enjoying and doing the Macarena in the national stadium. That'll be a lot of fun. So, I we need a little bit of positive reinforcement right now. So I think that will be pretty
Yeah.
darn good. Do you have any athletes on the British team that you think could surprise with a medal?
I've been thinking about that since you posted, and I haven't really come up with anyone. I mean, can I pick Gemma Riki? In a
Yeah,
way, you'd say that somebody who came fourth in the Olympics getting a medal wouldn't be a surprise. But of course,
hmm,
Gemma Riki was ill for a lot of last year.
yeah,
Didn't do herself justice last year simply because she was ill. Fighting off illness and trying to compete, but really not herself. Then she had a change of coach at the beginning of this year, and she's really been running into form. And I was impressed in the trials how um, she took on Keely Hutchinson, didn't ultimately beat her, but it would have been very easy for her to say, well, Hutchinson's going to win this race and I'm running for second place. But she didn't do that. And
yeah,
again, I thought she ran phenomenally well in the London Diamond League. So I would love to see her. It would be two medals for Britain because I think Hodgson's going to get a medal. So I would love to see her doing well because she's made a move. Um, she's moved the length of Britain to change coaches. I mean, in terms of to put it in the US context, he's more or less gone East Coast to West Coast
okay,
um, uh, to work with John Biggs, whose wife you've probably heard of, a lady called Sally Gunnell, used to
yeah, yeah,
jump over hurdles. So I'd like to see her rewarded for all that effort and just battling through the illness and so on. I haven't really identified somebody that I think is going to be in the medals. I'm delighted to see Amani Lanzikot uh, getting down to 11:02, and if she could go sub 11 in Budapest, that would be brilliant.
hmm.
Daryl Nita gets better and better. Love to see her get in the final and see her so she can get her medal. But I could equally talk about some of our British athletes who perhaps haven't had the greatest season and who've really got to find a way of stepping up, finding another gear in the next 2 weeks. So I think it's an intriguing. It could be a great championship for Britain, but also it could be quite a lot of medals. And I'm not sure at the moment which way it'll go.
This morning, I saw the press release that four athletes were added to the British team, including
Yeah.
Holly Bradshaw.
Mm.
How do you think her fitness is going?
Well, I mean, she had. It's been the most frustrating year for her because having got the medal in Tokyo, she was in good form, went to Oregon, and in her warm up, a pole broke and she fell on her back
Hmm.
and really would not. She tried to compete at the Commonwealth Games, but couldn't. And it's just a freak injury which can happen in pole vault. And then she picked up hamstring injuries, which he thinks is simply that because he was concerned about the bigger issues, you put pressure elsewhere. I don't think she can get a medal in Budapest. And if you ask her privately, she would say that really she's thinking hard. She was desperate to get to Budapest and achieve that through world ranking. But I think she knew that she wasn't going to get the automatic qualifying world South standard this year, just because she's still coming back from all the time that she's missed. And I mean, a nicer athlete you will not find anywhere than Holly. And just, so it'd be great to see her there, and she'll give it everything. I think if she can get to the final and perform reasonably, that's the best we can expect from her just
Okay.
now.
Okay. In terms of surprises on the U.S. side, I think Bryce Hoppel in the men's 800 could be very interesting because I think the 800 for men is totally unpredictable. I
Mm.
just don't see anybody in there who is going to be dominant. And it's going to be just seeing how people get through the rounds, which always makes the 800 quite exciting. The women's side, we're still trying to figure it out if a thing is going to run or not. And only Bobby
Yeah.
Kersey and a thing know that. And if she does, she's not doing the 4x4, which is interesting. And we've heard nothing about Sydney McLaughlin of Rone. And she was supposed to have run this past weekend, I thought, at the Ed Murphy. And there was no mention of her. So I'm wondering about that. And that
Yeah, because
leaves
I mean,
that.
she went to Monaco, did her press conference, and then withdrew, which was announced an hour before the event.
Yeah. And those are the kind of things that I do. I'm glad she did the press conference, but my thought process is if an athlete is used to promote the meet and they're not able to compete, at the very least, they should be at the presser. They should be doing something with the kids. Maybe there's an autograph
Mhm.
table, something
Mhm.
as simple
Yeah.
as that, or sitting in the
Mhm.
crowd. You know, all those kind of things could be a big deal and give the meet some benefits because they put money into promoting these athletes
Oh
and then
yeah.
they don't compete, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And that has been always one of the things that drives me
Mhm. Mhm.
absolutely bonkers, you know?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we'll have to
Yes,
have
yes.
to
I mean,
see about
again,
that.
for whatever reason, Sydney competes very little.
Well, there's this. I look at the number of times a lot of the American distance runners compete, and I'm
Mm.
really some of them barely compete at all. They rely on time trials and things like that.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
I'm pretty old school, and I remember, again, in my mediocre competitions, running racing 35 to 40 times a year,
Mhm.
and during build-up season and learned this from Frank Shorter to race a 2 mile every week. And that's what I did. And it just gave me just enough, even while I was doing mileage stuff, to remind my legs that, you're supposed to run fast. And so I just those little bitty meets. And you see some athletes like that, but not many American distance runners. And I think it's one of the things that many of them miss, but they're all about their training blocks and very focused, as are the Europeans. And at the end of the day, the competitions is what really excites the fans. I interviewed the NCAA champion for the steeplechase, Olivia Markovic. She's from the University of Notre Dame, and she won the steeplechase in 9:25, ran her PB by 10 seconds, and then in the U.S. champs took fourth and ran another PB by 8 seconds, so 18 seconds, two meets.
Mm. Mm.
And but she signed what, and I don't know if you're getting this in the UK. she signed what is called an NIL contract. And what it means is that either a brand or the school will give the athlete money for them to use in any way they see fit while they're still matriculating. And then if it's a brand, the brand can look at bringing them on as a professional athlete. And Olivia Marcus just got this last weekend, but we had heard Caitlin Tui obviously did it with Adidas earlier in the year. And it sounds like the university she went to and Adidas came together and said, hey, finish up your education, compete for North Carolina, and we will give you money. Now, the money estimates are crazy, but my sources tell me that for some of the best, it's a couple $100,000 a year. That's a lot of money for track athletes. And do they have anything similar to that in the UK right now? Okay. I was just very curious. I didn't know how it was going to go.
But then you see, we don't have anything at all like the NCAA.
Yeah, they had another one this weekend. I don't know if you heard about it. Let's see, what was it? Oregon, three of the big colleges. I believe it's Oregon and I think it's UCLA are going to go to the big Midwestern Conference, the Big 12, and pull out of the Pac-10 or Pac-12, which is going to decimate the conference. But the other thing is that the biggest challenge of all is that this is done for football for them to make money, but it's going to be the cross-country kids, tennis kids, soccer kids traveling all over the country to compete. And they don't have the benefits of the football teams. So it's going to be very interesting to see how some of these things play out. And as more money is coming into the American college football scene, there's going to be, I think, more situations like this, and how it's going to affect the quote unquote minor sports. And that is a challenge. And it is, I don't know how it's going to affect them. Track and field is quite popular at the college level over here, and they pay. I mean, there's college coaches in the US making over $600,000 coaching track and field. That's a lot of money, but where does that money come from? Well, it's not coming from the track coffers, it's coming from football. So it's going to change the way college sports is done, I believe. And I'm very curious to see how that plays out. And I have no idea right now, absolutely no idea.
You might as well be talking about life on the moon as far as I'm concerned. Because this is just so completely foreign. In the UK, we don't have any sports scholarships. If you're going to become a professional in most sports, going to college would be a positive disadvantage. If you're going to be a professional soccer player, you will be attached to a club, perhaps at 12, 15.
Wow.
Almost certainly. And I was talking to Luke Dunn, who happens to be Hannah England's husband, who was an international steeplechase runner for Britain. Now, he is the athletic director at University of Birmingham, and he coaches several athletes, but he coaches the athletes in his spare time in the evening because the university does not regard coaching elite athletes as part of his job. It's just as far back as you could think. Like people hear about Andy Young coaching Lauren Muir at the University of Glasgow and think about that in American terms. But Andy Young was a volunteer. He was not being paid to do that. You talk about a coach being paid 600,000. I wonder if there is anybody in the UK who's paid to coach track and field at a university? I don't know. There
Wow.
might not be.
Now, do
Might be
they
one or
have
two at Loughborough.
don't they have a high school championships in the UK, or what do they call it? A
Yeah.
secondary school? Okay.
Yes. 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 But it's totally amateur.
Okay.
Totally
Okay.
amateur. And it's not a case of if you do well, you get a sports scholarship because there are no sports scholarships.
Now, high schools in the UK, do you have sports programs?
Yes, but a lot of it is more about sort of sport for all fitness rather than uh,
Okay.
developing the elite, I would say.
So
Um,
if you were living in the UK and your child wanted to compete in track and field, you're going to go to the local running club
yes,
much more
exactly.
than anything else. Okay.
I was going to say that my daughter represented the country in two sports, but
Mm,
the school's contribution to that was virtually nil. It was all done through clubs. She was in a netball club, a field hockey club. If she'd been a runner, she'd have been joining Oxford City, the club where Hannah England started, or Radley. It would be just a local club run by volunteers, no staff, no paid coaches, nothing like that.
wow. Wow.
Um, it's just a totally different.
Give me the three events that you are looking forward to the most in Budapest.
The women's 100, because I think it's quite wide open. I
Mm,
mean, you can ask whether Carey can do the business. What kind of level of fitness have Kellyanne and Elaine got? Talu's been amazing. Can
yeah.
she do it in the world championship? I mean, I'm looking forward to the women's 1500 just to see Faith Kipyegon win it. I can't think that anyone can challenge her, but she's just such an amazing athlete. Seeing that. The men's 1500 again, can anybody get close to Ingebrigtsen?
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
not. But I mean, it's such a shame for Jake Whiteman that he's been injured and can't be there. So it would have been interesting to see how he would have tried. Because I mean, he said to me last year, I don't think that Jakob will ever let me do that again to him. So I wondered
Yeah.
if he'd have come up with a different tactic. And yeah, I mean, he, in some ways there are events which look quite one-sided, like the men's pole vault and the women's 1500. But actually, just seeing a superstar perform is pretty
Yeah.
exciting too.
No, I think so too. I mean, I look at the men's 400 hurdles, and I think Warholm is in a place that is rather unique. Rye Benjamin says he is healthy now. For the last three world championships, he has had challenging physical ailments each time. And DeSantos is just coming back running 44:74. I think one of the really underrated events is the men's 400 with Wade Vanderkerk and Stephen
Mm.
Gardner. I believe that Wade has been keeping something close, and I don't think we've seen him race all out this season. I think it's going to take about 43 or 43-4 to win. What do you think?
Well, I would say that I found it fascinating talking to him in Oslo when he said about how difficult it had been mentally to come back from the injury. But he said, what he said to me was, if my coach said to me, go and do something, no matter how physically demanding it was, I would say, okay, I can do that. But he said, the mind is different. That
Yeah,
having got that serious injury, it's there in your mind. Have I really recovered from that? Will I ever be as good as I was before? Am I going to push and just get injured again? And to have all that in his mind, he said, that is something completely different from the physical thing. Can I run faster than Gardner. And so that's interesting. But in a way, if he does overcome it, you might say he's come back stronger because he's defeated an enemy that he really fears.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that you're completely correct on that. I share with you the women's 100 is going to be pretty
Mm,
incredible. I think the men's 100 is equally unpredictable.
mm,
I know Fred Curley is incredibly tough, and I'm quite impressed with him. And
mm,
but I also
mm,
think that Marcel Jacobs, if he shows, means he's fit,
mm. Yeah,
and he always is for the big races. And
yeah.
Noah Lyles, him getting a medal will be a big deal, and I think that could be really interesting too. But
Going back to your earlier question, I mean, could Zarnell be somebody who could produce a
oh,
shot?
I think Zarnell could completely spoil the entire show. That race that he ran in the monsoon
Mm,
really impressed me. Michael
mm,
Johnson, among others, was quite impressed.
mm,
Um,
mm,
and even Noah Lyles was. Noah
mm,
Lyles actually predicted his
mm,
200-meter record, national record
mm,
in London, and which
mm,
Zarnell did in his training log. He's done that a couple
mm.
times now, which
Yeah,
I find
yeah.
fascinating. And he had given John Regis, I believe his agent,
Mm,
a little bit of
mm,
guff before the
mm,
race, so it sounded
mm.
kind of fun, some good-natured.
Yeah,
And John
yeah.
is one of the best laughs in the sport. I
Mm,
think it's kind of like Papa
yeah.
Noel or something, you know. And
Well, I mean, for people of our age, the fact that Darnell has taken down in the last year the records of Linford Christie and John Regis is quite interesting.
oh
Um,
yeah,
do you think we could sneak into his room in Budapest and see what he's written on his fridge door?
yeah,
You know, what the time is, and then we'll
sure,
know. Because
yep,
it's fascinating that he says that both for his record 100 and his record 200, he wrote down what he was going to run.
yeah. No, I think he's going to be. I think it's going to be a tremendous one, my friend. Well, you have survived 40 minutes with me today,
Ah,
Stuart. Thank you so much, and we'll perhaps try one more before we go off to
right.
Budapest. We hope Budapest is a little
Mm,
drier than it is now, but
mm.
from this side of the pond to your side of the pond, have a great evening. And
Thank you.
thank you, kind readers and viewers, for watching Athletics Chat 102. And thanks,
Mm,
Mike Deering, for managing it for us. Stuart, thank you.
thank you.
Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder here. This is the epilogue for Athletics Chat 102. We're back. Stuart in lovely Oxford, England, and Larry, that's me, in lovely Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. I'm in the Laren Hall, the global headquarters of RunBlogRun. First, a update. So, there are times, I know you guys are shocked when I am I don't know less than the full story. So I was talking about teams leaving the Pac-12 and going to the Big Ten. In 2022, USC and UCLA announced they were joining the Big Ten, which was shocking to some. The big deal was this last week, the University of Washington and Oregon are now going to be joining the Big Ten. We don't know when. It could be 2025, but it will affect college sports in a incredible way. In a conversation with our producer, he made a couple interesting comments, and Mike Deering, and we could see something in the future similar to the way American professional football is set up. Money is king, and these TV contracts are huge. Now, the University of Missouri football coach said something fascinating on Instagram this weekend. He said that he's not worried about the football teams because that's what this is built around, but the tennis teams, the cross country teams, the track teams, the soccer teams that have to travel across the country. It is hard enough to be a college athlete, competing, training, and you have to maintain a strong GPA. And most of these schools are very rigorous in their educational demands. I remember at Santa Clara University competing Division I in cross country and in track club, and I was running 22 units, 3/4, maintaining a 3.2, 3.3 at Santa Clara, which was really difficult. And considering the training I was doing, the study that was required, we traveled, but we traveled just on the West Coast. Think about traveling across the country every other weekend or several weekends. Those things are huge. Now, the only way sports like track and field and cross country and tennis and soccer can make it work is with the huge revenues that football affords or basketball affords. I suspect that the contracts for the SEC and for the Big Ten are two of the largest contracts in terrestrial TV sports history. And someone will correct me about it in the next day or two, I know. The Olympic contract for NBC is over $5 billion. I believe the NCAA contract for basketball is similar to that. Think about the revenue, but also think about the eyeballs that are watching it globally, right? The U.S. Track Coaches Association group that I represent has the rights to the NCAA Division I cross country, which has been one of the big cult favorites. It is a huge undertaking. The quality of the broadcast is incredible. They do it streaming and on terrestrial TV, ESPN, and it's continuing to grow, and it grows in leaps and bounds. And the track and field coverage in the summer or in June of each year, before summer, right? Late spring, is a huge thing as well. How much does this TV affect the sport? Huge way. It gives access to people watching it. Not only are they watching the streaming, not only are they watching it on the terrestrial TV, but they're also watching it on YouTube. Now, how do we get the numbers for all that? That's what's important. The numbers of eyeballs. And NBC seems to be a little bit behind in a lot of that with the way they're doing it with the Olympics. They want everything to be pretend live. I don't think people care about that. They want to see the action. They want to see the stories. The NBC coverage is brilliant. The global BBC coverage and the production that World Athletics does is brilliant. Like, for example, right now, European Athletics is doing live coverage from Jerusalem of the under 20s. And European Athletics has gotten it better than any of the track federations, including USATF, because the numbers that are watching European athletics are astounding. And I wish NBC would hear this and listen. And it understands the error in their ways of not putting USA Track and Field on TV every time they can. The recent ruling that World Athletics is going to institute at this World Championships is that if there's a lane open in a semifinal or final, they're filling it. That's brilliant. And I'm not going to say it should have been done 20 years ago, because that means nothing. All we can talk about is the future. But I think the future of track and field is really exciting. The future of it does rely on how much TV coverage we're going to get and how the quality of that coverage. And we'll be discussing those things and many more in our next Athletic Chat 103. This is Larry Eder. Run, jump, and throw. Tell someone you love them. Thank you for watching Athletics Chat. Thanks, Mike Deering, for managing the production values. And thank you, Stuart Weir, for taking time to record this with me. I've missed doing it over the last 8 months, and I'm glad that we're in our third season. Talk to you soon.